The parasite, relentless, feeds off of your greatest insecurities, shows you where your vulnerabilities are. Welcome to the Goddess Keys, where we merge fact and fiction to build our world. And today we're going to discuss a topic that's kind of icky, that is all around us, which is parasites. Parasites are everywhere. If we were to have a microscope, parasites feed off of a living host or an organism to get their sustenance. And a lot of folks who are waking up from the simulation, they might find that they have parasitic energies that they might need to transmute or overcome. Now, a lot of times we want to think of parasites and immediately go, ew, gross. One thing you start learning is all of the things that you've been told to be afraid of, to avoid, have a large amount of information for you to learn, integrate, and alchemize. And parasites are one of those things. So parasites or parasitic energies will feed on you until you notice that they're there. A lot of times they're going to feed on the more vulnerable aspects of you. So you're going to find parasitic energies, whether this is like in a physical way or in a more esoteric or etheric kind of way. You're going to find parasitic energies in the places that you've neglected or in the places that you've kind of hidden away in your shadows. So in that way, parasites actually do a service because they'll show you what parts of yourself you're neglecting, or maybe what parts of your shadow you haven't integrated. So if you take the approach of running away from parasites, saying ew, gross, or like trying not to think about them, pretending like they don't exist, then parasites are happy to feed on that energy that's being ignored. Sometimes the way to transcend an energy within the simulation is to become that energy. Well, how does that work with parasitism? Well, to articulate this point, I'm going to utilize this book called Mind of My Mind by Octavia Butler. This is a really, really good book, y'all. So in this book, I'm just going to kind of give a synopsis. It's actually a part of a series. So if anybody is like an Octavia Butler fan, if you've read that book, Wild Seed, Mind of My Mind is a part of that story as well. One of the main characters in this book, his name is Doro. Doro is a parasitic spirit. Basically, he originated from Nubia and had some kind of he was a I guess you would call like a mutant kind of thing. He had these powers, but when he came into these powers, he wasn't able to like control them. And basically he is a parasite that isn't quite human, but what he does is he goes from human to human and basically wears their body. So it's like his spirit will enter a human body and become that human, and in essence kill that human while that's happening, while that process of change is happening. And Doro, in this book, Doro is a spirit that lives for a millennia, who gets really bored and gets really lonely. And one thing he wants to do is he wants to try to seek out energies kind of similar to him, kind of more that mutant. So if you haven't read this book, just kind of think about that X-Men energy, people who have more like supernatural powers. He basically wants to start breeding these people to create a master race, right, that will rule over the world. And he does this for many, many years. In the books that Octavia Butler writes, she likens this a lot to the transatlantic slave trade, in the sense of him utilizing the act of slavery to do his breeding for his master race. While he's doing this breeding program over many, many years, there's a lot of things that go wrong with genetics. And so what he ends up doing is he ends up creating families that hate each other or that can't stand to be around each other, because a lot of people who don't come into their abilities, which is called latents in the book, a lot of the latents who don't come into their abilities, they end up with really strong adversarial energies in their lives, whether it's alcoholism or extreme violence or suicide or Maybe they're even considered to be special needs, not able to do daily tasks because of their genetics are so kind of messed up from all of this forced breeding. So Doro has this energy where he's kind of like lord over all of these people that he breeds. People are extremely afraid of him. He has absolute power, but they also hate him. They love him and they hate him because it's like he's their god in a way because he made them, but then at the same time he breeds them. He makes them marry each other. He basically makes them do whatever, and if they don't do it, then he kills them. Okay, so they kind of live in fear, and they also live in deference or extreme servitude towards Doro. And this is how things go on for a really, really long time. Finally, Doro succeeds in creating this master engineer that he was seeking to create. And it's actually done through his lineage. One of his granddaughters ends up basically becoming a pattern master, where she also is a parasite. She doesn't have to kill in order to have people to listen to her. What she's able to do is basically lead the hive. She's like the queen bee of the hive, and she's actually able, her strengths, she's able to tap into people's subconscious mind. Once she taps into their subconscious mind, they're hers in a way. They become a part of the hive. But one thing she's able to do is all of these family members who had a lot of mental issues or who had a lot of like substance abuse issues, she's actually able to help them through bringing them into the pattern. And it's almost like she's known as being a symbiotic sort of parasite, where she doesn't just take from them, but she gives them energy and then they give her energy in return. And what happens is they start creating one singular organism. So one person is leading this hive of thousands upon thousands of people. And basically they do kind of create, it gets a little spooky. They create a master race, and basically because they have this telepathic power, because a lot of these beings are really powerful. It's just their power's been unchecked and kind of uncontrollable. But Mary, who's the name of this person who's the pattern master, she's able to build a collective organism that's able to function in society like they never have before, to the point where they are basically able to get human beings to do their bidding, because they're not quite human. Okay, so that's an interesting dynamic that happens in this book, Mind of My Mind. So Doro spent thousands upon thousands of years breeding this sort of person or creature or organism, whatever you want to call it. He spent thousands and thousands of years wanting this. But when he sees it happen, he gets scared because he realizes the power that Mary possesses. So at first he's fascinated by it, but then he starts getting kind of jealous because he's actually not able to be a part of that pattern. He's seeing that they're growing a lot of power. He decides to stop it. He tells Mary that she needs to stop growing her organism, which she's actually unable to do because she is inherently parasitic in the way that she was bred. So she's not really able to do it. It would literally kind of kill her if she stopped bringing people into her pattern. Okay, so this is that really interesting, kind of scary, dangerous energy that sometimes parasites can exhibit. They must feed. But Doro bred her to be that way. Doro tries to stop her and tries to kill her, and she basically brings him into her pattern, and she's not powerful enough to kill him alone or to stop him alone. But once all of the energies of this pattern collectively get together and focus their intention with Mary's instruction on Doro, then it's a wrap for Doro. And this is the end of this geneticist who spent so many years trying to breed this master race. His parasitism it's actually parasitism, which is what gave him his power, which ends up bringing him to his end. Now, you can learn a lot about the parasite. You can learn about where your vulnerabilities are. And sometimes you can see structural design issues within the simulation if you look at where the parasitic energies are. This requires a large amount of polarity integration. But if you're somebody who does feel like your energy gets fed on in the simulation, then the parasite is something you are going to want to study at one point to overcome the energy of being fed upon. Okay, so this is a really interesting book, Mind of My Mind, probably one of my top 10 favorite novels, I'd say. But it's a really good meditation on parasitism. And, you know, it's an icky topic, but it's something that's really inevitable in the simulation. You will find parasitic code, parasitic energies in the simulation, and if you don't study or master them, then they can overtake you or they can feed upon you. But if you study the energy of the parasite, you can learn about where your energy is being siphoned. Instead of being afraid of it or pretending like it doesn't exist, there's a lot to learn about that energy. And then you get into this interesting energy of the biological nature and relationship of organisms and energy exchange. So the parasite, as icky as it is something to study if you are looking to get out of more victimizer energies within the simulation. So if you're interested in learning more about archetypes and how they shape the way you experience your world, then consider booking a Beyond the Birth Chart reading where we go through your birth chart and see what grids you might be attached to through your natal chart, through your birth chart, what kind of scripts or avatars you might be wearing within the simulation that you're looking to transcend. It's a very in-depth reading and analysis and meditation for you to be able to initiate your journey of shifting your archetype and avatar within the simulation so that you're building a world that actually works for you. And so we go into some of the lighter archetypes, but then there's also some heavier energies too that might need to be excavated and examined and mastered in order for you to have mastery over your world. And if you're interested in taking a deeper dive or a quest to work on navigating the coding of the simulation through technomancy, I am offering 1 month, 3 month, and 12-month quests at the alchemist level, the world builder level, and the game maker level. If this is something that is of interest to you, then you can book a discovery call with me. We can chat, see if we're a good fit, and possibly initiate a quest together. This is not coaching. This is a gamified way of exploring the coding of the simulation and looking at what the maps and what the current instruction sets that you might be navigating within the simulation, and then having the really fun, interesting, innovative journey of rewriting these same narratives so that you're building your world. If this sounds of interest to you, then you can connect with me. I'll leave my contact information below. Sending you lots of love, joy, and peace until we meet again.